Alright, so I'm going to show you guys how to find Lichdragon Fortissax in Elden Ring. Every single guide I watched was either incredibly long for no reason or had no commentary and it was a little bit difficult to follow along. So I just decided to make one of my own. This is going to be very straightforward to the point, and this is going to help you find Lichdragon Fortissax relatively easily in Elden Ring. A couple things that will make your life a whole lot easier before you do this. Make sure you haven't burned the Erd Tree yet, but you have access to the mountaintop of the giants and specifically the Forge. This will be a step later that, will save you a ton of time. And also make sure you have access to pretty much all of Liurnia. So if you've got those things in place, this should be pretty straightforward. The first thing we're going to do is go to the round table hold, and we're going to go talk to Fia. She should be in this room just past the blacksmith, and we can speak to her, and you actually need to talk to her multiple times. It should be twice. You need to keep selecting the option talk in secret until she gives you a dagger. This item is going to be very important for later, but once she's given you this, you can leave and then go out of this table and talk to D, who's sitting here on the ground, and exhaust his dialogue as well. After speaking to D, we can rest at the round table, and then once we come out of it, we should be able to go to this other room where Fia is going to be sitting near this body that's laying on the ground. There'll be items there that you can pick up, and after speaking to Fia in this location, she should disappear. If all of this happens, good. You're right on track, and we should be good to go on with the next step. Next thing we need to do after defeating Knight Loretta is head over to Ranni's Rise and start her quest line. This will be activated by going into this tower. You can ignore this dragon, but go all the way to the top and speak to Ranni for the first time. Once you've done that, you'll actually be locked inside this tower until you speak to Celavis and Iji. These will be these phantoms, these ghosts that are on the top and bottom floor. You can speak to these guys, and if it still doesn't let you leave, you can just rest at the site of grace after talking to these, and then you should be able to leave. Once you've done that, you can move on with the next step. Our next step in the quest requires you to have already defeated Radahn. Otherwise, you won't have access to Nokron, the Eternal City, from this point. So after you defeat Radahn, you can come down here, and we're going to go from the Mimic tier site of grace. This is a very popular one. A lot of people know this location. We're going to start from here, and the route in order to get to this is actually very similar to where you pick up the Mimic tier ashes to begin with, but we're actually going to go a little bit of a detour, and instead of going straight forward for the Mimic tier, we're going to drop down to the right, go all the way to this site of grace, and then the item we need is actually the Nokron treasure, and it's going to be on the other side. Like, you're just going to go right down this path, and it's going to be sitting in a treasure chest inside of this grand palace at the end of it here. So once you've picked that up, then you can either teleport out of there or just, go back to the site of grace. Doesn't really matter. Once we have that item, then we can go back and talk to Ranni again. After heading back to Ranni's Rise and speaking with her once more, she should give you another item this time, and this should be the Carrion Inverted Statue. This will allow us to get into one of the cathedrals that we need to access, and this will be sort of at this upside down tower location. So I'll put it on the map where this is located. You can enter this spot, and then once you come in here, you'll actually need to get the Curse Mark of Death inside of the Carrion Study Hall. A lot of guides I've seen just completely blow past this part, but I'm going to show you exactly where to go inside the Carrion Study Hall because it can be a little bit confusing, and the route is actually very straightforward. If you want to skip everything else, you can kind of just walk and veer off to the left here, drop down, and then we're going to go onto this sort of overhang, and then afterwards, there should be a sorcerer with a bow on this middle part, but we're going to ignore him. We're just going to jump down onto the chandeliers trying to hit each one. You might take a little bit of damage doing this, but you shouldn't die if you're hitting these properly, and then you'll fall down eventually to this loft where there's a little platform. You can stand on the button. It'll take you all the way down to the bottom. This should open up, and then you can access a door that's on the other side. This should take you to an area of the map that you can only access this way, and then from here, it's just straightforward. You go all the way to the end of the tower, ride the lift, get to the top of the thing, and then the Curse Mark of Death that you need for Fia should be there waiting for you. This part's pretty easy once you've gotten through the study hall. Now, at this point, if you don't want to do anything else and your entire goal is just to fight Fortissax, you don't need to do anything else until you've burned the Erd Tree. So if you're already at that point, if you've defeated the Fire Giant and have the Forge of the Giant Site of Grace unlocked, but you haven't burned it yet, now is the time to go ahead and do that. Head up over to here. If you're working to this way in your game, no problem. Just, you don't need to do anything until you get to this point. Head up to the Forge, and then you can rest at this Site of Grace, and Melina will, ask you if it's okay to burn the Erd Tree. You'll go ahead and do the thing. Once that's done, obviously you'll be put into the late game. It should put you in the Crumbling Farm Missoula, and you'll need to get to the first Site of Grace here before you can leave. So just make sure, you go and touch the first one, and then we can actually head back to the round table. Once we go back to the round table, Fia should be gone. You'll know you're doing this right if you enter her room that she was previously in and she is no longer there. If that's the case, great. We can continue with the next step. The next thing we need to do is access the area of the map, the Deep Root Depths. If you already have access to this, great. You you can skip a lot of this stuff, but if you don't yet have access to this, we're going to start from Nokron, the Eternal City, once again from the Mimic Tier location, and what we're going to do is just get on our horse and ride this path all the way into the Deeproot Depths. Now, it's a little bit of a journey, and you will have to fight a boss along the way, but what I'm going to do for the moment is just shut up and let you guys watch the route, just so you know exactly where to go. I'll cut past the boss, but once you've defeated it, there will be a coffin at the end of that boss fight arena, and then Fia's bodyguards. There's going to be a couple of them. They're pretty easy, honestly, but there is a few different like NPCs you'll need to battle. So battle through all of them that it will throw at you, and then the area should clear, and Fia should appear in front of you. All right, now that we've gotten to Fia, this is where it gets interesting. So you'll need to go up to her and initiate dialogue. And you'll want to do sort of the same thing that you did when she was in her room. You'll want to talk in secret, also give her the curse mark and all that stuff. Now, she's going to give you a string of dialogue where she's going to ask you to make a choice. And this is very imperative. You need to be careful and make sure you click the option that says, no, I want to be held. You need to pick this dialogue option in order to make sure you're fighting Fortissax. Okay, so once you've done that, now this part gets a little annoying. It just takes a long time, but you're gonna have to keep clicking through her dialogue, keep talking in secret until you've exhausted all of it. Once you start getting the same dialogue, you'll need to reload the area. So you can just reload the site of grace that you're at or a different one and come back. Doesn't really matter. You'll just need to reload the area and talk to her again. You should be getting different dialogue this time, and that will probably come to a halt as well. Once you start getting the same dialogue, reload it again. You'll want to rinse and repeat this process until eventually you get a different option to enter the nightmare. She should also be in a different position at this point, and that's how you know you are ready for the fight. If this is the case, then you've made it to Lichdragon Fortissax, and congratulations, you can enter the nightmare and play this boss as many times as you want. I won't spoil the whole fight for you. I'll let you guys play it for yourself, but good luck, and I hope this guide did help. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.